as far as the creation of these baits, we couldn't be happier with working with Catchco. It's not something that's happened overnight. In developing these things, they have an amazing design team. The collaboration's been fantastic, and I feel like we're just getting revved up. Howdy y'all, welcome back. It is getting cold outside. We're gonna be talking about one of the best baits ever for fall, winter, early spring fishing. It is jerk baits, and we're looking at the Googan squad in collaboration with Catchco Scout today. We're gonna go over some of the tips and conditions you should look for and how to fish it. Let's talk about equipment. What are the essential tools for using a jerk bait or this Scout right here? Fluorocarbon is a mega tool for fishing these baits because you're going to be pausing them quite a bit. That's usually when you get your bites. Monofilament actually floats, so that will change the position of your bait in the water. Fluorocarbon versus mono. If you want to fish a bait really high, say you've got a ton of grass in the water, I was literally talking when one got on it. Dang, came off. If you use monofilament, it's really going to float your bait higher. If you want like a slow rise or you want that nose to sit a little higher in the water column. But fluorocarbon will actually make your bait sit dead still or give it a little bit of a sink, depending on what size you use. It's also clear, so you have to keep that in mind if you're fishing a really clear body of water. Go with a fluorocarbon. But the size, I like to go with 8 to 12. If I'm fishing really, really clear water with no cover, no structure, I'm definitely going to go with an 8, maybe even a 6. But most of the time down here in Texas, I'm fishing a 10, and a 12 is also a really good if you have just a little bit of cover, maybe some trees, some grass. That way you've got enough power to get those fish out of there.
I've been coming that other side.
Oh yeah. There we go. Little beef. Must add triple grips. Not getting away, son. Whew. Got him all kinds of ways. When you're fishing, oh, whoa, buddy. We're gonna take the safe route on this guy with the pliers. Have to be super careful when you are fishing any kind of jerkbait. You know, this is the junior size right here. On the full size Scout, there's 3 sets of trebles, so always want to make sure you're using caution when unhooking those. The rod is also important. I use the same type of rod I'm going to use for a topwater, like a popping bait or a walking bait, because I'm working the bait with the tip downward in little cadences. So working it tip downward, it's really easy. It's just easy on my hands. It's easy on your wrist when you're doing this. If you're on a good jerkbait bite and you're doing it all day, it really helps. So for me, for my height, 6'8", 6'10" is really perfect. For some people, 6'6" is the perfect length. That way you can work it without the rod tip hitting your shoes or the water. And then if you get over that, then you start getting it gets cumbersome and it's getting in the way. So use a shorter rod and a softer rod, a medium power when you're using these jerkbaits. Let's talk about cadence. Cadence is also really important for the temperature of the water. So right now we're fall going into winter, and it's not as cold down here as some of the other states. But I like to go with like 3 to 5 seconds for early fall. That's on your pause. There's one. That was a long pause there. That was probably like 4 or 5 seconds. And it's almost helpful when I'm talking about it, because I'm literally taking the time to pause. Most times, if you're not getting bit on a jerkbait, you're working it too fast, especially when the water's cold. But as the water starts to get colder, you want to increase the amount of time you're pausing that bait. So go from like 3 to 5 from early fall going into winter, and then when you're in winter going in early spring, 8 to 10 seconds even, going up really high. When you're working a bait like the Scout, a jerkbait, a small lipped bait, this is the only style bait, or one of the very few, it's really these and topwaters that you're working with the rod way more than the reel. So when I'm working my reel, I'm only retrieving the slack that I'm working in with the rod. So, oh, I just had one right there. I'm doing an erratic cadence with the rod tip downward, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And as I'm jerking the rod tip downward, I'm just reeling in the slack, just each time. So twitch, reel, twitch, reel, twitch, 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 reel, all at that same time, just taking in the slack. It's not just a straight retrieve. I'm sure you probably could catch some fish that way, but the way this is designed with this lip out front, unlike a crankbait where it's really going to dive down and have a steady, consistent dive to it, with jerkbaits like the Scout, it's going to just shoot off to the left, right, do all sorts of things, and then you want to pause it. So you're creating the action. It's a little bit harder bait to work than your lipless crankbaits, your spinner baits, like your straight retrieve. You have to work at it a little bit, but it's a deadly tactic once you get the cadence and the pausing down. Got it. That's not a big one, just another decent fish. This is when you know. This is when you know they want a bait. When they have it wedged in their mouth like that. Now, this is different than other crankbaits. There's really no other way for a fish to grab a crankbait like this if it's just moving. It's on the move. They'd have to swim in front of it and grab it. So you can tell on the pause, the fish was able to come around and eat it head first while it was sitting still. So that's just awesome. I love seeing that, buddy. I'm also going to switch up colors. I'm going to go with a classic bone. Bone's a really good color for overcasts like we're working with here. This is kind of a modified bone. A little bit of orange in the belly, scaled pattern on the back. Looks like shad. This one dives 4 to 6 feet. It's another nice thing about all of our baits. It says it right there. Oh, here we go. A little bigger bite there. A little bigger. A little bit better one there. Got a mouthful. It's always good when they're getting it sideways in the mouth. Okay, that was the right smell. That got me pumped. That got me pumped. Come on, give me that nectar. Ooh, head shakes. There it is. This is the one. Either we're full of grass or we got him. We got Sally. Oh yeah. Not a giant, but a better one. It's a good move, switching up. Look at that. Cold. Oh, that's a good one. There we go. That is a sniff-worthy fish right there. Bigger Scout, bigger bass. Oh yeah, that's a good one. I really think getting down to the depth that they're at is important here. They're buried in the grass. It's cold, they don't want to come out, so I got to get close to them. Now, as far as the creation of these baits, we couldn't be happier with working with Catchco. It's not something that's happened overnight, but in developing these things, they have an amazing design team. I'll mention Jacob is one of the younger guys that I hired over this process that has just been like whatever we try to dream, think up, he develops it like that and in such a way that is the rest of the team is able to take that and create exactly what we're thinking, and it goes down to the colors, where the split rings are placed, any little detail. It's been amazing. So the collaboration's been fantastic, and I feel like we're just getting revved up. Okay, y'all, we are going to end it right here. Hopefully you've learned some tips and some tricks that are going to help you on your next outing, especially if it's really cold. Break out a jerkbait like the Scout. Go get you some. They'll be linked down below. You can check out all the awesome colors too. for your local water. Thanks for being here. Make sure to subscribe for more tips right here, and we'll see you on the next one.